YouTube, what is up? So we have a letter today, a letter from the VCT team. I'm just going to be going through that. I'll link it in the description below because this kind of stuff is just celebrating last year and I want to focus more on what is to come. So yeah, just kind of focus on peak viewership, talk about champions, talk about masters, how they've kind of viewed this as like their first proper year, and they referred to it as coming like out of the beta. The first 2 years were kind of like the beta of just how they wanted to test the VCT or like their competitive scene, and then this was like their first big year of how they envision it going forward. They talk about game changers and the off season in terms of having 40 events, etc. So this is what I want to focus on. This is interesting as well. They talk about the fact that they made some mistakes. It's cool to see that they're kind of just referring to that again, because for sure they did make some mistakes, but I also think that they were pretty relatively open, to be honest, which can be rare as well. So that's pretty cool. Okay, what is next? This is just reflecting on the fact that we might see some mixed gender rosters. Talk about player loans, because obviously the whole sixth, the sixth where you had to have a sixth in your team last year, that has been scrapped. Another option is that you can loan a player. So say that G2 could partner with Oxygen and say that Trent is like sick. Verno could then be drafted in for those games. Basically, that's kind of how it works. Or in this version with Game Changers, Liquid could partner with their Game Changers team, and they could switch some players in as well for the VCT. Pretty sure that's right. So we'll also get some rules on this in the future to see like if you have to partner or if like these teams can just go ahead and have like 6 players. Obviously, like Sentinels, there's a few players in Pacific as well, a few teams that have 6 players, so we'll kind of keep an eye on like what the actual rules are with this. If you have to have a 6th, I imagine you do in some form. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And this one's just talking about the fact that challenges is now all year round. The main thing being Ascension was before champs, it's now after champs, so it should in theory kind of boost viewership. You watch champs, you're like waiting for a month, and then you get Ascension. That's pretty hype. Could definitely attract a lot more viewers, and it also means that it's not as compact. There's more stuff for us to watch. So yeah, I think this is a great change. This is something that they did earlier on in the year, and yeah, I kind of sung my praises about this because it's nice to just have these games all year round as well, and just mean that the tier 2 scene kind of has something to always play for. And then they talk about Premier as well. Premier's been great. I played a bit of Premier. I think, honestly, I thought it was a lot better than. I don't know if my expectations were low, but Premier seems a lot better than I thought it would be. So yeah, kind of excited for this like being the path into challenges. Then we talk about VCT. Obviously, we had 30 teams. It's now 40 teams. Well, it's going to be 44 teams. We'll get into that in a second. So this is the 10 teams that obviously have been announced for China VCT. Wolves are here. I heard that they're big in mobile esports. I didn't really know that, but obviously massive in terms of like the actual football organization. And then definitely some surprises in here in my eyes, but again, I don't know too much about some of these orgs. So we'll also see, interesting that all of these teams have to apply by the normal VCT rules. So if they do have 2 imports, they will have to whittle that down to 1 import, and that does affect a few teams, honestly, which kind of leads well into this, which is Ascension. Rare Atom obviously have 2 of the biggest kind of imports, maybe like 2 of the most essential people in their team in terms of being their IGL and their duelist. So yeah, this happens on the 23rd to 30th of December. So end of December, I'm going to hopefully have streaming rights, so you can check out my stream. In terms of the heavy favorites, it's pretty much between these 2. This could be an upset. So in my mind, this is 3 teams that should be definitely the heavy favorites to win it, with probably Rare Atom being the favorite. Attacking Soul Esports could definitely do it as well, so it should be interesting. Don't know enough about the scene to really talk about these others, but at least from what I'm seeing, like recency bias, it feels like it's a 3-team kind of race in my books, with Rare Atom kind of being who I would say would be the favorites for this one. So yeah, I should have streaming rights for that. We'll check it out in the 23rd of December if you want to tune in. And now, speaking of dates, the season, the VCT first season. So we're going to have a kickoff tournament for 8 teams to go to Madrid. That is what we're talking about. So 8 teams for Madrid, and 16th of February. So relatively later than what I thought, and maybe other people thought as well. This would also give a good amount of time if the end of this current season in Valorant I think it ends on like the 1st of January. I think if they do a big patch that kind of affects Viper and maybe some of the metas, this gives teams a little bit more time, which kind of means that maybe that's more likely. We'll see. That is another story for sure. So yeah, 16th for Americas, 17th for Pacific, 20th for EMEA, and 22nd for China. So 22nd, and then from March the 18th to 24th. So the 8th, they finish on the 20th. They start on the 22nd, they finish on the 8th. So you would imagine that this is going to be like a week-long tournament, really, because they're going to fly out. Maybe you could extend it to like 10 days, but it'll be relatively cutting it close. So yeah, probably like a week-long double limb bracket or something like that. Just get it out the way. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Definitely, like I was talking about, you're starting to see it already be compact, right? 22nd, and then we start the tournament on the 8th. This is interesting as well. They said the Madrid arena from the 14th to the 24th, but it starts on the 8th. So that kind of leads into this, where we're doing a new format and we're doing a Swiss stage. So unless I'm reading this wrong, and let me know in the chat. Maybe this is like maybe one of these needs to be updated. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe we see this Swiss stage in like a different venue, or maybe just yeah, I'm not entirely sure what will happen. Maybe it's just a studio or something like that. In terms of the Swiss stage, for people that don't know what the Swiss format is, so it would be a whole group of 8 teams, and people you get drawn out, you play one. So you play one randomly out of this, and then everyone that goes 1-0 will go into their own little group of the 4, and then everyone that goes 0 and 1 will go into their own little group of 4, and then you carry on going, right? 0 and 2 play each other, 2 and 0 play each other, until you're left with 4 teams that will then go into this double elim bracket. So honestly, Swiss is great. Like, rarely people complain about Swiss. It's pretty decent. So yeah, that is going to be pretty nice. So that kind of explains why it's the 8th to the 24th, because obviously Swiss format with best of 3s, you would imagine. Yeah, it's gonna be a long but fun event for sure. And then we go on to talk about, this is interesting. So 2025, they start mentioning, so they're mentioning 2025, and they're basically just talking about how they know in 2024, like, and they know this year that it's all too compact, right? The whole infrastructure in terms of the whole format that they have, it's too together, right? You start in February and you finish by the end of August, and it's just like, what do you do with the rest of the year? So they're kind of just saying, we know this is crap. Like, we know this is crap. We can't change it next year. Like, stuff is too set, right? That they have venues, they have it all planned. Stuff is too set. But 2025, this is where we can kind of change that stuff. So I think this is cool. Obviously, sucks for this year, but at least they're being super open and being like, yeah, we know that this needs to change, but it's too big a thing for us to change at the moment. So 2024 is going to be what it is, and I think it's going to be rough for some of the teams. It's going to be really compact. But 2025 should be a lot better. So that one's interesting. That one's pretty cool. We'll see what the changes are. To be honest, you could imagine like maybe a late start in Jan to like a end in September, and then more of like a 4-month off season. That sounds pretty good in my books. So yeah, we'll see what actually happens with that. They also talk about the fact that they think the amount of games is fine. It's just how close together all the games are. Also means for someone that's like viewing, like you can actually potentially start viewing some of the other regions, because it's very hard to watch all the regions at the moment. Trust me, I try and do it. And then we here are just talking about just some of the stuff that was cool in terms of like the Zetra announcement roster, the watch parties in Turkey, which are just wild for sure in terms of numbers, and then Sentinels gets a shout out for doing the off-season event. And here we start to talk about how much the teams got, and they're very open with a lot of this. So there's a lock-in bundle for 10 million for all the teams involved. So obviously all the 30 teams went for that. And then the champions, they got 22 million for the team. So it's half rev split. So they sold 44 million in terms of the bundle, and 22 million go to the teams. And they basically just go here, says every partner team got 1 share, and the teams at champions got an extra share. So like got a double share. So I think that's a very good way of doing it. It means that you're obviously getting rewarded for having a good team, but also if you like just missed the mark, you're still getting rewarded. Does lead for some maybe weird things if like you wanted to just do a team that is like really clout based and maybe didn't want to try and perform that well, but obviously you pull viewers in and like this can potentially sustain it in terms of the one share. I'm not entirely sure. It would be interesting. No one's gone that route yet, which honestly is great. I kind of hope that doesn't happen, but I think this does lead for the option of it. But maybe there's some other stuff in place, like in the back contracts that we don't know about. So yeah, that one's pretty cool. It's a lot of money. They even go into this, right? They even are going in and they're giving us like information about some of the contracts. So from the 33 million in digital assets shared with the year teams, the teams have distributed 12 million to players and coaches. So basically the main rev split from all of these teams at the moment is 35-65 for the player skins. We're getting a bit of an insight into the contracts, and then we go over towards here and we look at the coaches as well. 70% in terms of prize money, so 70-30 split, 70 for players, so top is players and then the second is the org here as well. So honestly this is pretty fair. I actually think the 35 is maybe a bit higher than I thought, because this is a lot of money. So yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I feel like the players are doing great. If people are getting 35, in my mind, I think that's really good, because again, this is a lot of money. Then you got to think about salaries on top of that as well. So yeah, it's cool that they're being very open about that stuff for sure. Now, another big one. We're almost done. Another big one is VCT team bundles are coming. So team bundles, we get to have branded gun skins for our teams that are here, and they also say that it includes the Ascension teams. So we get to have Bleed, Gentlemates, and G2 skins as well. So that's great for teams that kind of wanna come through Ascension as well. That's definitely a extra incentive for a lot of those teams. So yeah, really good change, really cool stuff on this. Feel like they're being very open. Feel like they're being really, really open. Yeah, kind of takeaways from all of this. Again, I'll put it in the link I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out as well. Main takeaways are going to be like, damn, this is going to be a brutal year next year, but 2025 should be sick. And yeah, it's just nice to get insight about some of, especially like I've kind of been involved in some of the contracts, so this isn't like too much of a shock for me, but I think some of the people on the outside that maybe don't know, this is like good information as well. And I'm excited for the team bundles. Man, I hope some of them are good. I wonder like what skins they're gonna be on, whether it is just a pistol each or whether they all get the same gun. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on it. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, if I got anything wrong. There's a chance I quickly just briefly looked at it and then I just did this video. Yeah, give it a like, give it a comment, and I will see you. I'll see you in the China Ascension. That'll be one of the next ones that I'm streaming. So hopefully I'll see you all on my Twitch there.